Class 12th subject physics 15th chapter structure of atoms and nuclei. Structure of atoms and nuclei. From the chapter, let us see first introduction of the chapter. Matter is made up of indivisible parts called as atoms. So atoms of any matter are considered as the indivisible parts, that is, which are not divisible. According to Dalton's theory, matter is made up of indestructible particles. Matter is made up of indestructible particles. Atoms of a given element are identical. Atoms of an element are identical, and atoms can combine with other atoms to form new substance. Atoms can combine with other atoms to form new substance. But Sir J.J. Thomson proved that the atoms are destructible. According to Sir J.J. Thomson, the atoms are destructible. So in this chapter, we will study the atoms which contains a tiny nucleus whose size is about 1 lakh times smaller than that of the size of an atom. The nucleus contains all the positive charge of an atom, and also 99.9% of its mass is contained in the nucleus. Similarly, we will study the properties of nucleus, the forces acting on the nucleus, the radioactive decay of the nucleus, that is, emission of different rays from the nucleus, and the energy that is obtained from the nucleus. Now let us see Thomson's atomic model. So let us see Thomson's theory regarding the atomic model. Thomson performed various experiments with glass vacuum tube where a voltage was applied between the two electrodes inside an evacuated tube. So Thomson considered an evacuated tube in which the two electrodes are inserted, and between these two electrodes a voltage was applied. Then the cathode was seen to emit rays which produce a glow. So when potential difference was applied between the two electrodes, that is cathode and anode, at that time cathode was seen to emit rays which produce a glow. When they struck the glass behind the anode, at that time that glow was observed. Then by studying the properties of these rays, Thomson concluded that these rays are made up of negatively charged particles called as electrons. So these rays which were emitted were named as electrons by the scientist Thomson. So according to this Thomson atomic model, an atom is sphere having a uniform positive charge in which electrons are embedded. The total positive charge is equal to total negative charge of the electrons. So total positive charge is equal to total negative charge of the electrons in an atom, then rendering it as electrically neutral. So as positive charge is equal to negative charge, therefore that atom will be considered as electrically neutral. As the whole solid sphere is uniformly positively charged, the positive charge cannot come out and only the negatively charged electrons which are small can be emitted. So from this model it was concluded that the positive charge will not be emitted, but the negative charge, that is negatively charged electrons which are small in size, will be emitted. And this model explains the formation of ions and ionic compounds. So according to Thomson's atomic model, the concept of ions and the ionic compounds can be explained. Now let us see the next point, that is Geiger-Marsden experiment. Geiger-Marsden experiment. So according to this, Rutherford suggested that an experiment for scattering of alpha particles by the atoms. So Rutherford suggested the experiment to study the scattering of alpha particles by the atoms. So alpha particles are nothing but these are the helium nuclei. Alpha particles are nothing but the helium nuclei and are positively charged. This experiment was performed by Geiger and Marsden, and therefore alpha particles, if you consider the alpha particles, then these alpha particles from a source were allowed to pass through the collimator, and therefore the experimental setup for this Geiger-Marsden experiment is as shown in this figure. So it will contain a source of alpha particles. This is the collimator which will focus that beam of alpha particles in the sharp beam, and then it will be allowed to fall on this gold foil. So gold foil is nothing but very thin sheet of gold. Then the different scattering angles will be recorded with the help of this detector, that is angle theta will be measured here, and therefore alpha particles from a source, alpha particles from the source were collimated, that is focused in the form of a narrow beam. So very narrow beam of these alpha particles will be produced with the help of this collimator, and then as it is focused in narrow beam, it will be allowed now or made to fall on the gold foil. So it will, after making this narrow beam, it will be allowed, it will be made to fall on this gold foil which will contain large number of atoms. Then the scattered particles produce the stimulations, that is spots on the surrounding screen. So these scattered particles will now produce, these scattered particles will produce the stimulations on this the screen. Then these stimulations could be observed through a microscope, moved to cover different angles with respect to the incident beam. So these stimulations will be produced on the screen, so that microscope will be used in order to observe these stimulations, and different angles will be measured. Then it was found that the most of alpha particles pass through the foil along the straight line path. So as soon as this narrow beam of alpha particles is incident on this gold foil, at that time along the straight line path some of the alpha particles were passed through that foil, and while few of them were scattered through various scattering angles, and the remaining alpha particles were deflected, they were scattered through different scattering angles. It was the observation of this experiment given by Geiger and Marsden. Then let us see, that means this experiment is used to study the scattering of alpha particles by this gold foil. Then The next atomic model will be given by Rutherford, and that is Rutherford's atomic model. Rutherford's atomic model. So according to Rutherford's atomic model, the entire positive charge and most of the mass of an atom is concentrated in the central nucleus, and the electrons revolve around it in circular orbits similar to the revolution of the planets around the sun in the solar system. So according to Rutherford's atomic model, the entire positive charge and most of the mass of an atom is concentrated in the central nucleus, and the electrons revolve around it in a circular orbit similar to that of revolution of the planets around the sun in the solar system. The revolution of the electrons is necessary. The revolution of these electrons is necessary. Otherwise, the electrons would fall into the positively charged nucleus and the atom structure would collapse. So, the circular motion of that electrons will take place there, and the revolution of the electrons is necessary. If the revolution of the electron is stopped, at that time that electron will fall into the nucleus, and hence the atomic structure will be collapsed, and therefore this revolution of the electron around the nucleus is necessary. Then the space between the orbits of electrons and the nucleus is mostly empty. So according to Rutherford, the space between the electron orbits and the nucleus is mostly empty, and therefore most of alpha particles pass through the empty space undeflected, and therefore in this case, if there is free space, if there is empty space, then these alpha particles without any deflection, without scattering, will travel along the straight line path, and very few alpha particles which are in direct line with the tiny nucleus or extremely close to the nucleus will get repelled and deflected through small angles. So as alpha particles are positively charged, and if they are directly incident on the nucleus or close to the nucleus, at that time they will get deflected. As it is positive charge, these are the positively charged alpha particles, therefore there will be repulsion and they will be repelled and they are deflected through small angles. Now this model, according to this model again, it will be explained that due to large mass of the nucleus, the positively charged particles, that is alpha particles, are not emitted due to the force applied to the atoms. So though the force is applied on the atom or the nucleus, then the positively charged particles are not emitted from it due to heavy mass of that nucleus. But this Rutherford's atomic model will be having some of the difficulties. So let us see what are the difficulties in Rutherford's model. So according to Maxwell's equation, an accelerated charge always emits the electromagnetic radiation. So when any charge particle is accelerated, when there is change in its velocity, at that time it emits electromagnetic radiation. An electron in Rutherford's model moves uniformly along a circular orbit around the nucleus. So according to Rutherford's atomic model, that electron will revolve, it will circulate in a circular orbit around the nucleus. Even if the magnitude of its velocity is constant, that means if the magnitude of velocity of that electron is constant, but due to its circular motion of that electron, the direction of velocity will continuously change, and hence due to the change in direction of velocity of that electron, the motion of the electron is accelerated motion. Even if its magnitude of velocity is constant, there will be continuous change in the direction, and hence the motion of that electron is accelerated motion, and therefore the electron should emit the electromagnetic radiation. So as that this electron is negatively charged particle, and as that charged particle is accelerated, therefore it must emit the electromagnetic radiations. As it emits radiations, its energy would decrease. As radiation is emitted from this, that means that radiation will be emitted in the form of energy, and therefore there must be decrease in the energy of the electron, and hence its radius of its orbit will go on decreasing. As the energy of that revolving electron goes on decreasing, therefore it will come closer to the nucleus, that is radius of its orbit will decrease, and hence it will cover a spiral path instead of circular path. A spiral path will be followed because continuously it will come closer to the nucleus, and at last it will fall into the nucleus, causing the atom to collapse and lose its atomic properties. So as spiral form or path is traced by that nucleus or that atomic electron, and therefore as continuously it is revolving along this spiral path, therefore at last it will fall into the nucleus, and hence it will lose its atomic properties. But none of these things are observed. If you consider all these things, that is spiral path is traced, then its energy will go on decreasing, radius of its orbit goes on decreasing, it falls into the nucleus, and therefore it will lose its atomic properties. All these things never happen, and therefore as these things are not observed, but most atoms are very stable and do not constantly emit the electromagnetic radiation with varying frequency. It is observed that most of the atoms are very stable and do not constantly emit electromagnetic radiation with varying or changing frequency. So this will be regarding the difficulties related with Rutherford's model. Again, we will consider one more atomic model, that is Bohr's atomic model. Bohr's atomic model. So according to this Bohr's atomic model, some of the postulates are given by Bohr. In all, there are 3 postulates. First postulate is related with the circular orbit of the electron. Second gives the angular momentum of the electron, and the third is related with the transition of the electron from higher energy level to lower energy level. And therefore let us see these postulates. So the first postulate, which is related with the circular orbit, will be stated as the electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits. The electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits. So as electrons are revolving in circular orbits around the nucleus, that means there must be some centripetal force for the circular motion of that electron will be needed. Now that centripetal force will be provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between the positively charged nucleus and the negatively charged electron. So electrostatic force of attraction between electrons and nucleus will provide necessary centripetal force, and therefore first postulate is stated as the electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits. Now the second postulate, which is related with angular momentum, it will be stated as the radius of the orbit of an electron can only take certain fixed values such that the angular momentum of the electron in these orbits is an integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where h is Planck's constant. So according to second postulate, the angular momentum of that revolving electron is equal to h upon 2 pi, where h is Planck's constant, and therefore its statement is given as the radius of the orbit of an electron can take only certain fixed values such that the angular momentum of the electron in these orbits is an integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where h is Planck's constant. That is, according to this second postulate, the angular momentum of that revolving electron, which is given by the formula mvr, that is mass into velocity into radius of orbit, that will be angular momentum, that must be equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, that is nh upon 2 pi, and therefore the formula for this will be mvr equal to nh upon 2 pi, where n will be orbit number, that is 1 2 3 4 and so on. So this will be the second postulate. Then third postulate is related with the transition of the electron from higher energy level to lower energy level. That means when any electron is excited, when it moves from lower energy level to higher energy level, it will stay there for very short interval of time, and then there will be transition of that electron from higher energy level to lower energy level, and therefore this third postulate will be stated as the electron can make a transition from one of its orbits to another orbit having lower energy. That is, an electron will make a transition from higher energy level to lower energy level. During this transition, it emits a photon of energy equal to the difference in its energies in the two orbits. So when there is transition of the electron from higher energy level to lower energy level, at that time that electron will emit a photon of energy equal to the difference in the energies in these two orbits. That means the energy difference between the two orbits will be emitted in the form of a photon when any electron make transition from the higher energy level to lower energy level. So these are the postulates of Bohr's atomic model.